a C. I am a CH. I am a CHRISTIAN. Christian, and I am CHRIST in my CART. And I will LIVEETERNALOY. I am a C. I am a CH. I am a CHRISTIAN. Christian, and I have CHRIST in my HEART, and I will LIVEETERNALOY. I love you, Jesus, deep down in my heart. I love you, Jesus, deep down in my heart. You gotta go deep, deep, down, down, deep down in my heart. You gotta go deep, deep, down, down, deep down in my heart. I hate you, Satan, shoo away from me. I hate you, Satan, shoo away from me. You gotta go shoo, 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 shoo away from me. You gotta go shoo, 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 shoo away from me. And the joy, 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 where down in my heart, where down in my heart, I've got a joy, 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 down in my heart. Where down in my heart to say, I am so happy, so very happy. I've got the love of Jesus in my heart. I am so happy, so very happy. I've got the love of Jesus in my heart. The rock is higher than I. Jehovah hide me. I am under the rock. Don't have my enemy. I am under the rock. This is Jesus. I am under the rock. I am under the rock. The rock is higher than I. Jehovah hide me. I am under the rock. God tell my enemy. I am under the rock. This rock is Jesus. I am under the rock. What is he?
Good morning. Please bow your heads in prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for this time of learning and growth. Thank you for this opportunity to gather together with all the other grade 6 students and today's presenters. As we prepare for our exams in a few weeks, fill our hearts with peace and confidence. Help us to focus and understand and remember all that we studied. Guide us with your wisdom and sustain us with your strength. Bless our teachers, our families, and all who support us. Help us to always trust in you and do our very best, knowing you are always with us. In Jesus' name, amen.
They did an excellent job, didn't they? Yes, they did. You may have your seats at this time. Now we're going to have a roll call, but we're going to do it a little different because we have so many schools here today and we want to make sure that we maximize time. So we're going to do it a little different. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to call the schools by zone. So you're going to have to listen. And then we're all going to repeat a little motivational quote. Okay, it's going to be very simple, but you have to listen. So we're going to start with Zone 1. 5 Islands Primary. And as I call your school, please stand. We want to see you in the house. 5 Islands Primary, Golden Grove Primary, Green Bay Primary, Jennings Primary, Old Road Primary, S.R. Olivia David Primary, Erlins Primary, Post Millennial Academy, Grace Crescent Primary, St. Peter's Primary, TOR Memorial Primary, Temple Academy, and Mill Academy. And we are going to say with attitude, we've got this. After 2, 1, 2. I didn't hear any sound coming from this side. I'm sorry. What's happening over here? Okay, let's go again. After 2, 1, 2. Thank you. You may have your seats. Let's give them a round of applause. Yes. Zone 2. Freetown Primary, Newfield Primary, Pearce Primary, Parham Primary, Potters Primary, Nelvigo Primary, Christian Union Junior Academy, Foundations of Faith Tutorial, Kids Unlimited Primary, Seaview Academic Foundation, St. John's Catholic Primary, St. Michael's Primary, Sunnydale Primary, Sunnyside Tutorial. And we're going to say with an attitude, failure is not an option. After 2, 1, 2. Yeah! Come on, let's cheer them on. Zone 3, Bendel's Primary, Buckley's Primary, CT Samuel Primary, Cubs Cross Primary, Freemansville Primary, JT Ambrose Primary, Liberta Primary, Seaview Farm Primary, Baptist Academy Primary, Foundation Mix Primary, Island Academy Primary, Minnow Magnet Academy, New Bethel SDA Academy, Seventh-day Adventist, St. John's Lutheran, and Tabernacle Academy. And we're going to say, we're all champions. After 2, 1, 2. Yay! I think I'm a little bit too excited. It's as though I'm the one going to be writing these exams come next month. And Zone 4, the Adele School, Cedar Grove Primary, Holy Trinity, Mary E. Piggott Primary, New Winthorpe's Primary, Piggott's Primary, School for the Deaf, T.N. Kernan Primary, Villa Primary, Better Chance, Divine Academy of Excellence, Friends Developmental Center, Gospel Light Elementary, Grace Christian Academy, St. Andrews, St. Nicholas, Wesleyan Junior Academy, Victory Center. And we are going to see, God says we can. After 2, 1, 2.
God says we can.
Let's give them a round of applause. Yes. It's good to have all of you in the house today. I want you to promise me that you're going to listen well. You're going to pay attention to all the details that are presented here today. Because I'm telling you a secret, they're going to be giving away clues. Yes, they're going to be giving you clues for the exam. Don't tell them I said so, okay? I don't want to get myself in any trouble. So please listen and listen well. We're going to get the ball rolling and we're going to have session 1 for this morning. We're going to invite Mrs. Jewel Gorhurst, Education Officer in the Office of Measurement and Evaluation, and her theme is Aim for the Stars. Success is yours to claim.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Charles. Director of Education, Mr. Claire Brown. Deputy Director of Education, Mrs. Dr. Jonah Green. Colleague education officers and other officers from the Ministry of Education. Principals, teachers, our grade 6 students, Parents, guardians, cheery morning to you all. Energized and inspired after that divine devotion session from the Lutheran School. Give them a round of applause again. Wonderful. Now, grade 6 students, you will be taking the national assessments next month. And so, I encourage you to aim for the stars, because success is yours to claim. Get ready. We are going to be going through some key points for you to consider as you continue to prepare for the assessments. We'll be looking at general examination guidelines. We're also going to be looking at exam tips to boost your performance. And finally, what you're all waiting for, the examination schedule. Please listen very attentively, students, for there are times when I'm going to ask you to join by either reading something or answering a question. So here we go. General examination guidelines. Guideline number 1. And I know that's going to be flying in right now so we can all participate in this activity. Arrive at your school, which will be your assigned examination center, on time. And I'm hoping that the slide will come in right away so that we can follow along. Arrive on time, and we're asking you to be there for 8:30 a.m. Please tell me what time. 8:30 a.m. On the balcony, repeat the time. Excellent. And even though the exams will start promptly at 9 a.m., we're asking you to arrive at 8:30 because we want you to enter the exam rooms on the instruction of the supervisors to settle in, to make sure you take out the tools that you need, place your bags in the secured area, have your devotion so that the exams can start promptly at 9 a.m. Our next guideline for you, I'm going to ask you to read what is presented on the screen for guideline number 2. After 2, 1, 2. Now I heard have my own schools. Am I still very excited from the devotion? Did you say schools or tools? Okay, wonderful. So, the tools that you normally use during your in-class tests and quizzes, those are the tools we're asking you to work with. So your pencils, your special number 2 pencil, your black or blue ink pen, your ruler, your sharpener, your eraser, as well as your calculator when you have mathematics. Bring your own tools, for you will not be allowed to share with your classmates, students. And so make a special note to inform your parents as well that on the 2 days of the assessments, you must have all of your tools. We move right along to guideline number 3. There are some materials that you are currently using to prepare at home and at school that are not allowed, they're not authorized in the examination rooms. So we're asking you not to walk with those materials. Your notebooks, your textbooks, any scrap paper that you may have written notes on, they are not allowed. So please do not bring them or take them to the examination center, to your school on those 2 days of the assessment. We want all to go well. We want you to be very comfortable, and we expect that you are going to follow that particular guideline number 3. We now go to guideline number 4, which I'm also asking you to read for me after 2, 1, 2. All right, so raise your hand if you have a mobile phone. Almost, director raised his hand. Almost all of the students. You may Lower your hand now. Now, we know the value of having your mobile phone so your parents can get in contact with you, particularly for the 2 days of the assessment when it's time to pick you up. However, mobile phones are not permitted to be on your possession, so in your pockets, in your pouches, on the days of the exam, and they're definitely not allowed to be heard. So we're asking that you follow the instruction that will also be given by the supervisor at your school to turn off that phone, place it securely in your bag, and then at the end of the assessment for each day, you would be able to turn on the volume so you can speak to your parents, or if they call you, you can hear. So please remember guideline number 4. Guideline number 5 is also very important, students. And because of its importance, I'm going to ask you to read once what the slide says. After 2, 1, 2. Yes, correctly is the key word. So you will be provided with a 10-digit ID number. It's unique to you. It's going to be on your desk on the 2 days of the assessment. For your paper 2, as well as the science papers, your ID number will be recorded on a line. And the next slide will show you an example of where and how the ID number will be written. So this is an example that is there for you, and some of you may say, but this looks familiar to what we had to do for booster, but we had to write our name. You will have the ID number on a line for your science paper and the paper 2 for the language, social studies, and mathematics. However, for your multiple choice papers or section, your responses for your ID number should be in a box. It's a special box. The next slide is going to illustrate for you exactly how we expect this ID number to be written. So if you notice in the blue ring, the ID number is written in boxes. So each numeral, each digit of the number, is written in its own box. And then below each digit, in its own column, a nice bubbling or shade of that numeral. Some of you, your teachers, would have already started to give you practice with using this special identification number recording, and that's very important because your multiple choice answers will be marked by a special machine. And so in order for it to capture your correct number, you are asked to fill in the number in the box for your multiple choice responses. Is that clear, everyone? All students? Wonderful. We now proceed to guideline 6, where, just like what some of your teachers have already said, your answers should be written in black or blue ink pen. Now, I know some of you have purple ink, pink ink, orange ink, green ink. Those are not allowed on the day of the assessments, not at all. Black or blue ink pen. I want you to read for me, though. We're going to go right back to that point, right? Because we need to see that second note. All students, those of you who are looking at your books or you may be taking a note, I want you to look at the slide. Please read for me the second point that starts but. This is for you in particular. After 2, 1, 2. Yes, your number 2 pencils. So when it is time for you to answer your multiple choice questions, the supervisor will say to you to take out only your number 2 pencils, and that is what you will use. Pens are not allowed. Remember, we want this special machine to capture your responses. And if you write in pen, it's not going to capture your responses accurately. And then at the measurement and evaluation unit, we're going to have to enter all of your responses manually, taking much longer than we would like. And you know that we want to release the results on time. You look forward to the on-time release, right? Yes. So please use your pencils and bubble in your answers neatly and completely. Let's proceed to the next slide, where we will also look at some very important details for your language arts multiple choice. Paper 1, you will have 4 questions. So your bubble sheet would look similar to what is presented to you, your answer sheet for your multiple choice, just like what you did for the booster. And we are now going to look at the other sample of the sheet where they're very good. Those require the 30 questions that you're going to get for the science, mathematics, and social studies. Please, students, keep a track of the question that you're answering. So if you're at number 1, as the next slide is going to show, you're at number 1, you keep your finger at number 1, and you see whether or not the answer is A, B, C, or D. Before you on the slide, it says B, bubbling nicely, completely, clearly. So that is what we expect you to do on the day of the assessments, just like you did during the booster examinations. We're now going to go to our final guideline. And this one is very important because we want all to be well and we want you to remain in the examination room. So keep in mind that permission will only be allowed for you to leave the exam room once the required times have ended. Now, if for whatever reason you become very ill and you really cannot continue the paper, the supervisor would be there to tell you exactly how they can provide care. But please, when it is time to do your exams, you are to be in the room. We're going to talk later when we get to the schedule about what you can do between taking the papers. So students, keep in mind those 7 guidelines that were just shared with you. We now move right along into what we are going to dub as exam tips to boost your performance. Boost your performance. So tip number 1, and I'm sure you hear this often from your teachers and parents. Read with me. After 2, 1, 2 students, have a positive attitude. That aim for the stars, I claim success type of attitude, positive attitude that will help you through. The attitude that you probably have right now as you prepare for the assessments. And if, for whatever reason, like me, you become nervous at any point, just take some deep breaths. A few deep breaths, or whatever strategy works for you if you become nervous. It's okay to be nervous. Sometimes nervousness helps us to do our very best. But that positive mindset, that positive attitude makes a difference. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2. And you've already started to do this, so I know you're going to excel in this area. Listen carefully and follow all of the instructions that the supervisors and invigilators give to you. So, you may hear instructions such as, please enter the room, please be seated, please remove all the materials that you need for your exam now, please begin, please stop writing. Those instructions and others, we expect you to follow them so that all goes smoothly during the assessments. Tip number 3. You are required, and you are already practicing it at school, to read the instructions on your question papers and each question carefully, just like what your teachers say to you. And if there are any keywords that appear that you need to make note of, as we're going to see in tip number 4, please underline those keywords. Am I recognizing that you have a question? Okay, just a moment. May I share something with you? I believe that I'll be able to share the presentation with your principals so you'll have an opportunity to access them. Is that okay? All right, so thank you for your understanding. We were talking about tip number 4. So when there are these keywords that some of your teachers already would say to you, you either underline or circle them, please do so. We believe that it would help you to stay focused on what is asked of you. Keywords such as describe, explain, calculate, list, identify, suggest. Those will help you to understand what is required of you for the questions. We now go to tip number 5. Tip number 5 is very straightforward. It's asking you to attempt all questions according to the instructions that are given. So students, we want to know what you know. And only if you attempt those questions and record your responses will we know. Remember, success is yours to claim, you know. So do your part and consider our tip number 5. We move right along to tip number 6. Tip number 6 suggests here, or asks, for you to stay focused and try to keep a good pace. There will be a clock on the wall. The supervisors would share with you momentarily as you go how much time you have remaining, but we want you to keep a good pace. It's not a speed test, so you hurry and write. Keep a good pace. We want you to finish within the time. And what we also want for you to do in staying focused is to review your essays or your short answer responses where you have to show working. Go over your working once time permits. But you're giving enough time to record your responses on your question papers. We want you to stay focused and keep a good pace. And our final tip, and I'm going to ask you to read with me this very, very important tip. After 212, use all my time, all of your time. And for those of you who would finish your work quickly and accurately, we're asking that you check over your work. Am I saying anything new to you that you haven't heard from your teachers or parents? Good. Check over your work if you have the time. Check it over once. Check it over twice. And for those of you who said, oh, I have already done so twice, and you have more time, please check your work over thrice. All part of aiming for the stars, since success is yours to claim. So those are the 7 exam tips to boost your performance that we would like for you to consider. Now, finally, we are going to get to the examination schedule. Examination schedule, what will be on day 1? Wednesday, the 4th of June. Your 2 favorite subjects, language arts and mathematics. Wonderful, I love it. Now let me tell you, after the devotion, I only hear positive things, right? So I heard all the cheers. So you're going to start with your language arts paper 1 promptly at 9 a.m. And that paper will be for 1 hour and 20 minutes. You get a break, 10 minutes break. Now, you see, this break is very important. All your breaks are important because you will not be allowed to leave the examination room once the exam would have started. We want you to use your breaks to drink some water, also to use the restroom. Okay, this is very important. Water is important to stimulate your minds and help you to recall all that you would have studied. After the 10-minute break, you'll have your language arts paper 2, which will be for an hour and 40 minutes. We're hoping that it starts promptly at 10:35 a.m. Then, of course, you'll have to have your lunch. You have another break. And I think this is one of the favorite parts that I think I would have because, lunchtime. And so you have 40 minutes so you can socialize with your friends, have whatever your parents provided for you, drink your water, your favorite juice, and remember to also use the restroom before the time expires. And then you go into your second favorite subject, science. By the way, did I say language arts and mathematics for day 1? Well, let me tell you, I so love maths, right? I wish you could have it on both days. It's language arts and science. Well, and I'm looking at my colleagues who saw me say mathematics and didn't say, Mrs. Hurst, we know you love maths, but it's science for day 1. So thank you, students. So science for day 1 after that break, which will start at 1 p.m. We hope on time for an hour and 40 minutes. Now we're going to go to day 2. Does day 2 have mathematics? Now you recognize that I love math so much, right? I love all the subjects, but math is my number 1. So on Thursday, 5th of June, 9 o'clock will be the start of your math paper 1 for 50 minutes to answer those 30 questions. Then you will get a 10-minute something. What would that something be? Yes, and you already know what is expected for your 10-minute break. Then you go to your math paper 2. Dance away with the math paper 2 for an hour and 40 minutes once it starts at 10:05 a.m. Then you get another break. And this is for you to have your lunch and enjoy yourself, relax, and prepare for your social studies paper 1, which will be for 50 minutes to answer your multiple choice questions. Then another break. No, we don't want you to get tired of a break, but we realize the importance of just settling in, relaxing, composing yourself before you go to the final paper, which is the social studies paper 2, which we're hoping will begin at 1:25 in the afternoon, and that will be for an hour and 30 minutes. And then at 2:55, once the exams start on time, and the supervisor says, stop writing, and they collect your papers and package them and give you the instruction to leave the room, you can say, yes, I have aimed for the stars. Success has been mine to claim. And so, students, that was your 2-day schedule for your grade 6 national assessment. We really hope that as you go back to your schools, you will share these details with your teachers and your parents as you continue to prepare for the assessment. At this time, although I know that you like to hear my voice, I do have to say thank you very much for your attention. Students, we were just told by Mrs. Charles that we'll wait until the very end to ask all of the questions. So have your questions at hand, students, teachers, for me. And grade 6 students, on behalf of the Measurement and Evaluation Unit, the Ministry of Education, I would like to wish you the very best with your grade 6 assessment. Continue to prepare, claim success today, and we wish you the very best and God's blessings. Thank you very much for your time.
I think we can do a little better than that. That was just to make sure that you're not sleeping. Okay? So I wanted to make sure you're not sleeping. Just a reminder that you write your questions on a piece of paper, hand it to your teachers, hand it to the ushers, and at the end, you will get an opportunity to hear the responses for your questions. Okay? want to give a very special shout out because we have a student in the house who is being homeschooled. And I called all the other schools, but I don't want to leave the student out at all. So you can give me a wave where you are. I'm looking, but I'm not seeing, and everybody else is looking. Okay, perhaps I'm missing the hat. Okay. Let's give him a clap, everyone. Okay. So we acknowledged everyone in the house. We're going to move right along, and we have some motivational remarks by the Honorable Prime Minister, the Honorable Gaston Brown. Please pay keen attention to the slide.
Young scholars. I'm Prime Minister Gaston Brown, and today I want to speak directly to each of you as you prepare for your Grade 6 National Assessment Exam. First and foremost, greetings to our young scholars. I'm Prime Minister Gaston Brown, and today I want to speak directly to each of you as you prepare for your Grade 6 National Assessment Exam. First and foremost, I want you to know how proud I am of your dedication and hard work. This exam is an important step in your educational journey, marking your transition into secondary school. It's a moment that showcases your growth, your learning, and your readiness to take on new challenges. Remember, this assessment is not just about testing your knowledge. It's about demonstrating your commitment, your perseverance, and your ability to apply what you've learned. It's an opportunity to shine and to show yourself and others what you're capable of achieving. I understand that exams can bring about feelings of nervousness or anxiety. That's completely normal. But I encourage you to approach this exam with confidence. Trust in your preparation, believe in your abilities, and know that you have the support of your teachers, your families, and your entire community behind you. As you sit for your exam, take a deep breath. Read each question carefully and answer to the best of your ability. Stay focused, stay calm. Remember that this is just one step in a lifelong journey of learning and growth. Your education is a powerful tool, one that will open doors and create opportunities for you in the future. By doing your best in this exam, you're not only setting the foundation for your own success, but also contributing to the continued progress and prosperity of our beloved Antigua and Barbuda. I have every confidence in your abilities and certainly your potential. Therefore, go forward with determination, give it your all, and know that we are all cheering you on. Best wishes, and may success be yours. I thank you.
One of the things that I noticed that is being repeated here today is stay positive. Say positive things to yourself. Don't allow anyone to tell you anything negative. Speak positive words into your life. You will do it. I love mathematics. I love language arts. I'm going to ace this science. Don't say you don't like it and you're not going to do well in it. Speak positive words. Do I have anyone in agreement with me this morning? Very well. Okay, we are going to invite our second speaker, Dr. Desrin Collins, the Education Officer for Language Arts. She's going to come at this time. Let us welcome her as she comes.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Director of Education, Mr. Claire Brown, Deputy Director of Education, Dr. Green, principals, teachers, students, the most important people here today. Give yourselves a round of applause for the success that you will get in language arts. Yes, and I want you to turn to the person next to you and say, only my best is good enough. Say that. Exactly. Only your best is good enough in language arts. And so today, I am so honored to give you some tips, some guidelines, some advice to help you to ace language arts. So what are my objectives? We're going to go immediately into looking at my objectives. Now, my main objective is to help you rise to the top. But one of the things I'm going to do is to outline the structure of the language arts exam. You are already told that you have 2 papers, but I'm going to tell you what each paper entails. I'm also going to share examples of exam questions. I have a third objective, which is to explain some key expectations. And finally, I am going to respond to your questions. But you know already that the questioning will come at the end. So you have to listen keenly. How are you going to listen? Exactly, and you have to make notes of the questions that you may have so that I can answer them at the end and lift you to the top. So let's move on. Paper 1. As Mrs. Hurst said earlier, the presentations will be sent to your school, so don't worry. You will get an opportunity to look at it again, and the teachers may send them home and you'll be able to look at it as often as you wish. So paper 1, you have 40 multiple choice items, and those items are divided into 4 sections, and you get 40 marks for paper 1. And let me see how many of you would like to get all 40 of your marks. Right, so you're going to answer all 40 questions. You're going to read them carefully. 40 marks for paper 1. And then you have paper 2, which has how many sections? 3. How many sections? 3. Exactly, you have 3 sections, and those sections cover subjective items, which means you have the knowledge, you have the thoughts, and you share them on the paper. Okay? So you will get marks depending on how well you share those thoughts, those ideas. So that's paper 2. And so we're going to move on to the topics in paper 1. Now, paper 1, how many marks are you getting for paper 1? That's right. Your 40 marks will come from parts of speech, spelling, synonyms, verb tenses, subject-verb agreement, and idioms and proverbs. Now, all of these things you've been doing since kindergarten. And so, you've been doing them repeatedly, and you're just ready to display your knowledge. So now we move on to we're going to move on to sections 2, 3, and 4 of paper 1. Now, in section 2, you're going to have a passage. You're going to read the passage carefully, and then you will answer the questions. Then you're going to do my favorite part. You're going to read a poem. You're going to enjoy the reading of that poem, because poetry is for enjoyment. and then you're just going to answer the questions because there are some questions based on the poem. And finally, you're going to watch a poster, you're going to read the poster very carefully, observe everything on the poster, and then you're going to answer the questions that are based on that poster, and that will be the end of paper 1, just like that. Sounds good, doesn't it? Right, and I'm sure you're looking forward to acing paper 1. And then after your break comes paper 2. So what's on paper 2? I only heard the people on this side, so I'm going to ask the question again, and I want everybody to respond because the answer is right in front of you. What's on paper 2? Exactly. So you're going to write a composition. And you know there are 4 types of compositions. What are they? When I point to you, you're going to give me one beginning with D. Okay, you're going to give me one beginning with P. Okay, you're going to give me one beginning with E. And you're going to give me one beginning with N. Exactly. So you have the 4 different types of composition. Do you think you have to write all 4 types? No, you're going to choose one. Now, I know some of you have already decided, I'm going to do the narrative, or I'm going to do the persuasive, or I'm going to do the descriptive. Now, I want to tell you, don't go into the exam already deciding what you're going to do. Read all the questions, every one of them. Think carefully about what you're being asked, what you have to write about, and choose the one that you can do best. And I want you to give you a little tip. 1 or 2 of them are going to be just about you. So if something is just about you, you just put yourself into it and you write, okay? So you're going to choose one composition and you're going to write your composition. You're going to think carefully about what you're going to write because you're going to very quickly go through the writing process, which means you're going to think, you're going to plan quickly what you're going to say, and you're going to begin to write. And you're going to write as carefully, as neatly as you possibly can. So that's your paper 2. And now I am going to, well, I think I should say something about the letter writing as well. Let me tell you something about the letter writing. I know some of you are looking forward to that part. And you want me to tell you something? Every year, almost every student do better in the letter writing than the composition. You know why? Because they have to write their own address. They have to write the address of somebody and they're given that address. So all you have to do is to follow the instructions. Remember, a letter really is a composition in the form of a letter. So you look at what you're being asked and you think carefully about it just as you would for the composition and you write. Remember the elements of your letter. If you can remember the elements of your letter, I guarantee you that there's no way you can fail the letter writing. And then there is form filling, which is the last section of paper 2. And again, you have to provide information about yourself. So just make sure you pay attention to each question. There's going to be a little scenario. Read the scenario carefully and make sure you are filling in the right space what is supposed to be in that space. So do not give me your class in the space where you're supposed to give me your Christian name, or your address where you're supposed to give me the name of your school. Pay attention to what is supposed to be placed in each space of the form and fill the form as accurately but as quickly as you can. Now, I'm going to give you just 3 examples of questions. And once you see those examples, you're going to realize this is an easy exam. And you can't wait for the 4th of June. So the first question, can you see it? It seems a little blurred to me, so I'm going to read it for you. The instruction says, choose the word which is most similar in meaning to the word in bold type. So which part of paper 1 is that? The word most similar in meaning, that is? Excellent, excellent, synonyms. So the question is, because they lost the last match, Kevin was reluctant to play with his team. And the answer is? I just heard those people over there. You're going to make them get all the A's? Come on. It is C, and because Kevin is reluctant, that means he's a little unwilling, and if you read the question carefully and you thought about it, you would be able to select the answer accurately. So pay attention to the context. Pay attention to the sentence in which the word occurs. Okay, so that's the first example of a question. I'm going to give you another example, and this example says, choose the letter that indicates the correct part of speech for the word in bold type. And the sentence is, can you see it? Can you read it? Please read it. And the part of speech of very is? Okay, somebody over there said adjective, but I'm sure I heard adverb over this side. Did I hear adverb over this side? And the people in the middle didn't answer, so you tell me, what is the answer? It's an adverb. And you know, because you were learning from kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, grade 5, that an adverb modifies an adjective, and an adjective describes a noun. So we have a documentary, which is a noun. We have interesting, which is describing the documentary, telling us something about that documentary. And we have very, which is telling us something about interesting. It wasn't a little interesting. It wasn't barely interesting. It was very interesting. And that's an... You didn't sound very confident. And that's an... Okay, so don't just be guessing parts of speech of words. You have to analyze the sentence, analyze the word, know exactly what that word is doing in that sentence before you select your response. Okay, and the final example I'm going to give you is, could you read it? Okay. What type of composition is this? That's right. This is a persuasive composition because you are writing whether you agree or disagree with the statement, all school-based assessments should be stopped. Do you think that's the one coming on the paper? Not likely. The director would fire me. Okay, but the important thing to know is that you have to take a position. And in taking a position, though, you have to consider what the people who are taking the opposite position are going to say. So think about at least one thing they're going to say. So while you give your points, you have your 3 main points that you're going to give to just convince me that your position is the better position. You also have to consider at least one thing that people who do not agree with you would say and just blow that out of the waters. Okay? That is called a counter argument. Your teachers taught you about that, right? How come the people over there alone getting all the A's? Did your teachers teach you about counter argument? That's better. Your teachers are here, you know, and you have to go back to school, so be careful. Right, so you're going to write your composition. You're going to give me 3 main points, and you also are going to give me a counter argument, and you're going to say why that counter argument doesn't make sense. It's not solid. It's not as good an argument as the ones you have put forward. Now, I'm going to give you some key expectations. What are you seeing before you? The beach. And I expect that you're going to do so well that your parents are going to be happy to take you to the beach after the exam. But before you get to the beach to relax, here are some things you have to do. First of all, you have to read all instructions very, very carefully. Mrs. Hurst said that, and I'm reiterating that point. Because students lose a lot of marks because they failed to read the instructions carefully. So I want you to repeat that expectation. What are we expecting? Very good. That's my second expectation. That's right. Now, I expect you to know all the answers, but just in case you don't know a particular answer, do not leave it undone. Do some elimination. This one doesn't make any sense. This one is unlikely. This is the most likely answer, and select one of the options and shade carefully. And if that stumps you, just do eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Choose one. Do not leave any multiple choice item undone, okay? Your guess might just be a perfect guess. Expectation number 3. Now here's where you can lose marks as well, because as much as I would love to mark all the papers, I do not mark all the papers. I have a team of people marking these papers. They have all the hundreds of scripts to mark. So if your handwriting is so poor that they're struggling to figure out what you're saying, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to lose marks. Because as much as you might be right, they might not be able to tell that you're right. So take your time, write as legibly as you can. So that's our third expectation, legible handwriting. Expectation number 4. What's that? What's that? Exactly. Now you know already that in your narrative, if your character is a Creole speaker, then you can make your characters as authentic as possible and use Creole. But apart from dialogue in your narrative, we expect standard English. So when you're writing your persuasive composition, if you choose persuasion, when you're writing your expository composition, if you choose expository, when you're writing your letter, and when you're writing your descriptive composition, we expect what? Thank you very much. Expectation number 5. What does it say? That's right. And the reason why we are not giving you a minimum number of paragraphs for the narrative and the descriptive, it depends on what you're writing. Okay? If you're writing a narrative, you can go and have several more paragraphs than 5. So just make sure that your expository paragraph and your persuasive paragraph, you have an introduction, You have 3 paragraphs of body minimum, and you have a conclusion, okay? And that makes 5. How many paragraphs? Excellent. I can see that we're going to have a great time with the marking this year. And my final expectation is A+. Okay, so distinctive elements for each type of discourse. So when you're writing descriptive, I expect the techniques of description. When you're writing expository, it must be clear that this is exposition, and you're not persuading me, you're not, even though you might have some elements of description there, that is not the dominant feature of that composition. Okay, so make sure that you have the distinctive elements of each type of discourse. And that brings us to the end of our expectations. And now, next slide. Next slide. Now, I'm sure you have been listening. You're not asking questions now, but I have a question for you. How many objectives did I have at the beginning? But you were listening. Can I hear this side? How many objectives did I have? Are they correct? How many objectives did I have? I think 4 is the dominant response I'm hearing. So we're going to go to the next slide to see who is correct. But I did hear some 3 and 5 and 6 and 2. So let's see who's correct. Next slide. Exactly, I had 4 objectives. I outlined the structure of the language arts exam. I gave you 3 examples of exam questions. I explained 6 expectations, and I will respond to the questions during the question period. So at this point, I just want to thank you for your attention, wish you all the best, and say to you that I know God will help you to do well. All the best to you.
I just have a feeling that this year we are going to be overwhelmed with the number of persons on the top 100 list. I have a feeling, you know, let me see those persons who are going to be on that top 100 list. Just stand for me. Mr. Director, look around. You're going to have, yes, I love it, yes. You may have your seats now. Very good. All right. We're going to have our next speaker come to you at this time, Mr. Anthony Spencer, Education Officer for Science. Could you welcome him, please?
Okay, good day, thank you. I'd like to acknowledge the Director of Education and the Deputy Director of Education, my colleagues in the Ministry of Education, principals, teachers, students, one and all, good day to everyone. Good day. Now I know that science is your favorite subject, and so I take pleasure in sharing some hints for your science exam, because we want to make sure that many persons get 100% on the exam this year. So I'd like to begin by just giving you a little overview of the exam. So begin by just reminding you of the purpose of the exam. The exam is designed to help you develop knowledge, experimental skills, and proper scientific attitudes. And let me also point out that we will be focusing in terms of how the questions come. Some questions are going to be testing just what you know. There are some facts that everybody should know as they study science. But then there are some other types of questions where we want to hear what you think. So don't be afraid when we ask for your opinion to give your opinion. We want you to think about the question and give answers that are meaningful. So there are some questions that don't have a right or wrong answer, just as long as you can justify them. And then the exam also helps to build your experimental skills, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. So the next slide, please. So the structure of the exam. So the exam has several parts. Section A, the multiple choice. It has 30 questions, 30 multiple choice questions. We have section B, which involves the fill in the blanks, and the section C, the matching items. Then we have the short answer items, and I need to spend a little bit of time on section E, the skills and processes. I'll mention it a little bit more, but that is a very important aspect, and it ties into section F, which is the SBA component. Now, all of you should have completed your SBAs already, so I'm hoping that everybody inside here has done very well on your SBAs, because that contributes 20% of your final grade. I will now go on to explain some actual parts of the exam itself in the next slide. So there are some topics that you should pay particular attention to. Questions can come from any place in the exam, but there are some topics that are going to be very, very prevalent. And so one of the topics is life cycles, and it involves growth and development. So there's a little icon there of a life cycle. Can anybody tell me what organism is that life cycle about? That's a butterfly. And what type of growth and development cycle does it go through? What do we call that process? It goes through metamorphosis, and I heard somebody saying complete metamorphosis. So you should know the difference between complete and incomplete metamorphosis. You should know some examples of organisms that go through complete and incomplete metamorphosis. You should know the stages of those organisms. So you see the first stage there, the egg, and then what's the next stage? I wonder if I can give you a hint about the exam, the actual exam. Can I give you a hint? Okay, so we have the egg there, and I see after the egg, there's a little stage here. What do we call that stage normally? What is that larval stage called? Oh, so you know it has a next name that we give it. So if I ask you that in the exam, everybody will get that correct. Okay, I'll see. We'll check it later on when we're marking the papers. Next slide, please. Okay, so this topic is a very, very important topic on the exam. It speaks about environmental destruction. It speaks about the things that can cause destruction. And so the first aspect that I want us to focus on is, what do people do to destroy the environment? Can somebody tell me one thing that people do to damage the environment? Just shout it. Okay, I did not understand any of that, but I guess that everybody knows that by polluting the land, those are ways that you damage the environment. Is that clear? And I'm sure you can come up with other ways that human beings damage the environment. But not all damage is caused by man's interaction with the environment. Some of it is natural. And an example that you see there is, for example, hurricanes. Hurricanes can cause damage to the environment, but what we want you to be able to do is analyze, how do hurricanes cause damage? What happens when a hurricane comes? You should be able to analyze how do volcanoes cause damage to the environment. Not only that, you have to also be able to identify ways in which human beings can help prevent or minimize the effect of even natural disasters on the environment. So for example, you know that hurricanes can cause damage. What can people do to protect the environment from hurricane damage? The next slide kind of amplifies that same theme, factors that can bring about changes in the environment. So today we have good land that's nice for planting, and tomorrow nothing grows there. There are lots of things that can cause the environment to change, and we needed to be able to look at the scenario, identify it, identify some ways in which a given ecosystem can change and how we can protect the environment. Now, as I mentioned, all topics on the curriculum, even from kindergarten, can come on the exam. But these are some that you are sure are going to play a very prominent role in the exam. The next slide, please. So here is a topic that everybody likes: energy transformation. Now, the first thing I have there is name the parts of a simple electric circuit, and you see a nice little graphic there. Can anybody tell me one part of that circuit? Okay, somebody said the battery. And okay, thank you. So we see the battery there. We see a circuit, a simple circuit. It consists, in this case, I'm going to give you some guidance. We have a battery, and it's producing energy. And when the switch is open, the bulb is off because there's no current flowing. But when the switch is closed, you see that the battery is providing electrical energy to light the bulb, and so the battery itself is providing energy. So you're seeing a change in energy in that circuit, and you will have scenarios where you have to identify what type of changes take place in different scenarios. I gave you an electric circuit, but that's not the only system that we could have used. So please pay attention to these topics and you will do well. Next slide, please. So now comes this part that I told you later on I wanted to kind of come back to. Skills and processes. In this section of the paper, you are required to be able to explain the proper process for experiment. You should be able to identify variables, meaning everybody should know the difference between the manipulated variable, the controlled variables, and the responding variable. You should also know the basic rules for writing results in a table. Now let me tell you this. Every year you get either a table or a graph or probably both, and every year we find persons make some simple mistakes that cause them to lose marks on these. So I'll give you some general guidelines. Every table or graph must always have a title. If you have a table, you must always put in the column headings, you must put the units, you must draw the borders, and keep it neat. Same thing with a graph. So there are key things that you need to do to ensure you get full marks on this section. And finally, you are expected to be able to make valid conclusions. So when you get a set of results, you should be able to say, based on these results, this is what I can conclude. If you've done your SBAs, then you should do very well on this, because this section tests the same skills that you do in the SBAs. All right? Thank you. Could you go to the next slide? And that's it for me. And I will wish you all the best. I've given you some hints of things that are coming on the exam, so I hope that you paid attention, and good luck to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spencer. We have excellent science students in the house, so you have nothing to worry about. They're going to ace this. Now we are going to turn our attention to the slides, as we listen very carefully to some motivational remarks by our Minister of Education, the Honorable Darrell Matthew. And the Honorable Minister reiterated what we said earlier. So you're going to say to the person next to you with an attitude, I am definitely going to be a success. Claim it. Claim it. We're going to invite Miss Joanne Jarvis, the Curriculum Support Officer for Social Sciences, and she's going to come at this time. Could you please welcome her?
Director of Education, Mr. Claire Brown, Deputy Director, Dr. Jonah Green, Education officers, colleagues, principals, teachers, students, good morning. Okay. Now today we're going to look at social studies, okay? Now I want you to take a look at the slide that is before you. There are 3 pictures there. The one in the middle, can you tell me what's happening there? Me here, over here? Okay, that's the brain. And thinking is taking place there. Now let's look at the picture on the left of the little girl. What can you tell me about her? Okay, let me take over here. She looks happy. She looks positive. Very good. And what about the little boy on the right? What's happening here? Upstairs? He looks frustrated. Okay? Now, which one are you going to be? The little girl that's looking all happy and positive, or frustrated? Now, I'm hoping that all of you will choose being positive, happy, confident. Okay? And there's no reason for you to be frustrated. And this is not only for the social studies, for the language, for the math, for the science as well. Okay? Next slide, please. Now, here's a quote that I thought was very important. Education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. In a nutshell, to go anywhere in life, we have to learn. And education is very important. And I know that in recent times, we've been hearing a lot of, we're just leaving from the primary school, going over to the secondary school. But I always ask, what are you going over with? Education is the key and the foundation for success. In order to be a teacher, a doctor, a lawyer, an auto mechanic, you need an education. You have to have the knowledge and the skills that are needed. And so I just want to encourage you, stay focused and do your very best. Okay, next slide. Just some points to consider for the exam, for the social studies. Okay, the first one, read. Okay, tell me what it says. Very good. Very important that you read the questions that you are given. Number 2, very good. So the first thing is to read the question. Secondly, think about what that question is asking you. Okay, number 3. Very good. So, based on everything that your teacher taught you, you're going to apply all the knowledge and skills that you have put in. And then, that is when you will, number 4, right. I'm not hearing you. Okay, so I want you to remember these 4 points. Read the question carefully. Think about what the question is asking you to do. Apply. Remember all that your teacher taught you and the exercises that you would have done to make yourself or practice to be perfect. And then once you have done those 3, then you begin to write your answer. And I'm going to go into a little more detail when it comes to describing and explain. Okay? Now, just one thing to remember. If at any point in time that you make a mistake, we don't want to see you scratching out and scratching out. It makes your work look very untidy. Just take your ruler and draw a line through your mistake and then make your correction. Is that clear? Okay, next slide, please. Now, for the social studies, as you were told earlier, there are 2 papers that you will be doing. Paper 1 and paper 2. Paper 1 is made up of 30 multiple choice questions based on topics that you would have covered from grades 4 to 6. Okay, next slide. Now, I have a sample. There are 2 multiple choice questions. Okay, let's look at the first one. Read for me, who is? Okay. Okay. So we have 4 choices there. A, Sir George Walter. B, Sir Vere Cornwall Bird Sr. C, Sir Vivian Richards. And D, King Court. The answer there is C. Very good. Okay. Now, with the paper 1, you're going to find that there are some questions that right off the bat, you already know what the answer is. There are going to be some questions that require you to do a little more thinking. Okay? So here I have an example of one where you will have to do a little bit more. Okay, I'll read it. Snorkeling is a popular tourist activity in Antigua and Barbuda, but can become a problem when tourists, we have A, tourists have so much fun, they want to return. B, take beautiful pictures to take back home. C, leave a donation to help preserve marine life. Or D, take the corals, conch, and the starfish out of the sea. I'm hearing? Very good. Okay, so the answer there for that, it would be take the corals, the conch, and the starfish out of the sea. Okay, so that question you had to do a little bit more thinking. Okay, so the paper 1, as I said, you're going to have some questions that are very basic, some that are going to require you to do a little more thinking, and some where you're going to actually have to analyze the scenario given to determine the answer. All right? Next slide, please. Now, we come to the paper 2. Paper 2 is made up of 5 sections, each section being worth 10 marks. Okay, let's look at the 5 topics that we'll be looking at this year. We have the map of Antigua and Barbuda, the family, government and citizenship, customs, culture, traditions, and folklore, and our Caribbean sustainable environment, natural features. Now, with the paper 2, again, you're going to have questions that are going to be basic knowledge. Okay? Then we're going to have some questions that would require you to think a little deeper. And then you're also going to have questions that will ask you to analyze certain scenarios. What would you do if you were in a certain position? Okay, so I'm just going to give you a little hint based on the topics. Okay, next slide, please. Section A. This is where we look at map skills. The map of Antigua and Barbuda. Now, just to let you know, all of the information that you require will be on that map on your exam paper. So there's no need for you, if there's a question asked, you don't need to ravel your brain and think about what it is. All of the information there will be on the map. Is that clear? Okay? Now, you are going to have questions that will check your skills in terms of measuring distances and also finding directions. And I know that these are things that your teachers would have been doing with you throughout. So I am hoping that every one of you in here will get your full 10 marks for your math skills. Am I going to get that? Some of you don't sound too positive. Okay, so it's very easy for you to get your full 10 marks with your map of Antigua and Barbuda. Next slide, please. Section B will be looking at the family. We all know that there are different types of families in our communities. So we're going to be looking at that. And we're also aware that some families, unfortunately, do have some problems. You should have already learned about some of the different types of problems that different families face and how these problems can be reduced or solved. So, is that difficult? Is that difficult? Okay, very good. Let's look at section C. Okay, section C, we'll be looking at the government and citizenship. We'll be looking at the branches of government. How many branches of government do we have here in Antigua? Very good. What are they? Okay, very good. Okay, so we'll be looking at the branches of government, the functions of government, and the role or the roles that we as citizens play in Antigua and Barbuda. Okay? Next slide, section D. Section D, we'll be talking about customs, culture, traditions, and folklore. Can anybody tell me what that appliance is? It is an iron. Okay, specifically it is a sad iron. And this was used a long time ago. So we're going to be looking at some of the old-time things or appliances that were in place even before you were born. Okay? And we know that in modern times, some people would say that, you know, we are losing our culture. Do you think that we are losing our culture here in Antigua and Barbuda? Okay, I'm hearing some saying yes. I'm seeing some shaking their heads and saying no. Okay, so these are some of the things that we're going to ask you about. And section E looks at our Caribbean sustainable environment, natural features. Mr. Spencer spoke about some aspects of pollution in his statements. And if you notice, science and social studies do have similarities. Okay? And so we're going to look at the different types of pollution, okay, and ways of reducing pollution. And that's it, where the social studies is concerned. Now, just before I go, as I said to you earlier, especially where the paper 2 is concerned, there are questions that are going to be straightforward, and there are questions that are going to require you to think a little deeper. I want to encourage you, whenever you see questions with explain, describe, suggest. Are you going to give a one-word answer? No. Whenever you see these terms, it means that you have to give more details. Does everybody understand what I just said? So paper 2, you're going to be required to do a lot of thinking. And so it's not just a one-word answer. You have to be able to explain yourselves and also explain yourselves clearly. So it's not just looking outside and saying, the sun is hot. Why do you think the sun is hot? So you have to think. So how many persons are going to get 100% on their social studies? Okay, very good. I see some persons over here not so positive about that. But let me tell you this. Remember, let me see how many of you, remember we also use the integrated approach with our subjects. So the paper 1 is worth how many marks? 30 marks. The paper 2 has 5 sections, 10 marks each. So paper 2 is worth how many marks? Very good. So we have 50 plus 30, which gives us, and the other 20 marks, where is that coming from? Very good. And I do hope that all of you would have completed your SBAs by now. So if you have completed your SBAs and you have gotten your full marks on them, that means all you have left to do is to get the other 80 marks on the day of the social studies exam. So again, I want to encourage you to do your very best. I know all of you in here can do it. And I want you to not only make yourselves proud, but your teachers, your parents, and the rest of your family. All of you in here can do it. And again, most importantly, go into the exam room with a positive attitude. Do not go into the exam room being nervous. Okay, thank you very much for listening, and all the best again.
Okay. A student asked me just this morning, what's the difference between the Director of Education and the Minister of Education? They didn't know. So I would like to acknowledge 2 persons sitting in the front row, right in front of me. Director of Education, Mr. Claire Brown. And you are going to get an opportunity to see who this director is. And his assistant, Mrs. Jonah Green. We are so happy to have you here today. So I had to put this little nugget in because I was kind of amazed that the student didn't know who the director was. So we're going to have some motivational remarks now by our Director of Education, Mr. Claire Brown. Let's welcome him, please. Mr. Director, I think you need to stand in just a minute, and let's see who this director is, because some of our students really don't know. Okay.
My grade 6 stars. You're in the home stretch. How you finished matters. These final weeks are about smart, focused preparation. What you put in is what you'll get out. So stay committed and clear about your goal. Remember, proper preparation prevents poor performance. You have come too far to give less than your best. Walk into those exams with confidence. Let your mind be calm, your focus sharp, and your heart steady. You've done the work. Believe in yourself. Trust your preparation. Shine. You're not alone. Your parents, teachers, and the ministry believe in you, and God walks with you. You've been prepared for this moment. Stand tall, think clearly, do your best, and leave the rest to Him. Finish strong and rise to the next chapter with grace and excellence. We're proud of you. Go make your mark.
Go make your mark. Yes. Did we leave any subject area out? Mathematics. And so we are going to invite Mrs. Shoya Brownhurst, Acting Education Officer for Mathematics. Please invite her as she comes. I noticed some of our students, they are busy taking bathroom breaks. We're going to be finished shortly, but I want you to be here and to, yes, I am noticing right there in the corner. Please, teachers, monitor the students. Thank you.
Director of Education, Mr. Claire Brown, Deputy Director, Dr. Jonah Green, colleagues in the Ministry of Education, principals, teachers, and students, good morning. Oh no, that won't do. So let's try that once again. Good morning. All right, that's better. Now, I know you've been sitting for quite some time, so I'm going to ask you to stand. Oh, don't murmur, don't complain. Let's get some juices flowing so you can really take this journey with me as we go through the math presentation. All right? Let's be quiet because I have a challenge for you. Are you ready? Are you ready? All right. So, we've learned quite some time ago what's a prime number and what's a... All right, so you're with me. Now, can I see your left hand? Oh, some people are not sure. Can I see? Hands down. Let's see the right hand. Okay, so I'm going to call a few numbers at this time. If the number I call is a prime number, I want you to just shift just a little to your left. So when we say prime, when I call the prime number, which direction are we going to? Good stuff. And if I call a composite number, you're going in what direction? Excellent. So let's start with the first one. We have to be quiet so we can listen. Our first number is 7. Oh boy. All right. What direction should we have gone a while ago? Excellent, because it's a prime number. Okay. Next number, 18. All right. Now don't go so far that you're pushing on each other. We're just trying to get some energy moving, all right? Next number, listen up students, listen up. 28. And And our final number, let's see what's going to happen here. 2. All right, give yourselves a round of applause. Let's be seated. And let's jump right in to our presentation this morning. Now, 2 seems to have caught some of us off guard because it's an even number, but it's also prime. So let's not forget that. And that's actually one of our focus topics coming this year. So you're already prepared, you're ready to go, and I'm looking forward to seeing how you respond in the exam to those questions. So today I'm hoping, students, let's settle please. I'm hoping just to share a bit with you about the structure of the exam, some of the major pitfalls that I don't want you to encounter this year. So these are things that we want you to avoid doing. Some common mistakes that we're seeing over and over that we want you to avoid doing. We're going to focus a little bit on paper 1 and paper 2. And finally, I'm going to share some topics with you and some reminders as you prepare for your mathematics national assessment, okay? So let's jump right in, please. So in this exam, or the mathematics in general, it's comprised of 2 major areas. Our SBA component, which makes up 20% of our final score, and the examination, having paper 1 and paper, all right. Next slide. Paper 1 has 30 multiple choice questions worth 30 marks. In paper 2 this year, we have a total of 7 questions. In section 1, you'll have 5 questions worth a total of 53 marks. And in section 2, don't get so excited. In section 2, we'll have 2 questions worth 27 marks, giving us a total of what? In paper 2? 80 marks. Very good. So you're ready with your computation as well. So both papers together will create that 100%, and we'll have to do some scaling, but it will still give us 100%. And then we will have now our SBA, both papers together will give 80% of the total mark, and our SBA giving us that 20%, giving us that 100%. And some of you have done some really excellent SBAs. So you already are going into the room with your 20% in the bag. So good stuff. You're ready, and you're preparing for your exams. Next slide, please. So paper 1, as I shared with you, there are 30 questions, but we're seeing some common pitfalls that we want you to avoid. So when the question is posed, I want you to think about it before you respond, okay? In this paper, there are no calculators allowed. You have to answer all questions. And all the presenters that went before me this morning explained to you the importance of having an answer. Students, don't leave any question blank. Now, one tip I will give you is to do the easy items first. We don't have to go in order 1 to 30. Do the easy items first and come back to what was a little difficult for you. Now, not because it's multiple choice means that we should not attempt to solve the question. This is mathematics. So it's very important that you take some time to work out an answer. Once you've done that, then select a reasonable response. Make only one choice. Don't go shading 2 options. It's not going to give you an advantage. And finally, if you have to change your answer, erase it and then shade what is correct. Are you with me? Are you with me? All right, next slide, please. Now, as I shared before, sometimes we create some of our own problems. We've learned so much, our teachers have taught us so much, but there are times when we make some silly mistakes. So we don't want to be like Mickey, going out on the edge and cutting ourselves off to have that fall, okay? So let's avoid these pitfalls. Next slide, please. Look at this question. I hope you're able to see it clearly. It's going to take some analysis, so take some time to look at it carefully. Damien tried to arrange these decimals in order from largest to smallest. Which of his orders is correct? I'm hearing B. I'm hearing C. All right. So those who say B, let's see those hands. Okay, I see a few hands going up for B. And I'm going to show you the error that you're making there. And those of us who are saying C, let's see the hands. Excellent. Next slide, let's see what the correct answer is. C. All right, now students, here's one pitfall that we may get ourselves into. When we look at B, it seems to be going in the order that they asked us for. 1.45, 1.42, 1.23, 1.3, 1.09. What's happening there? So 1.23 and 1.3, we may think that longer means larger. That's one pitfall I want you to avoid. The value of the digits is just as important. Once we're working with decimals, please remember, next slide, that your place value is just as important. So I have the picture here. Don't forget too, so I'm going back. Longer is not always larger. So for example, is 0.45 bigger or smaller than 0.8? It's smaller, not because we have more digits, okay? The value of the digits is just as important. So our place value chart is to remind us of that. We have to think about the values of the digits that we are seeing, particularly when we're working with our decimals. Now, don't forget, the second reminder I want to give you is that there's a connection between fractions, decimals, and percentages. Those are just different ways that we can represent the very same number. So there are times when we are not sure, but we know how to put it as a fraction, as a percentage, and that too can help us to select the right response. So let's avoid the pitfall of thinking long is larger, and there's only one way to represent a number. Next slide, please. Can you solve this for me? 18 divided by 3, plus 3, sorry, divided by 7 times 6. Okay, so some real mental math is happening this morning. Is the answer okay? If you think the answer is A, raise your hand. A, 2. B, 18. C, 126. Or D, 21 over 42. That's another way of saying 21 divided by 42. If you think that's the answer. And for those of us who just don't know, let's help you out. Next slide, please. The answer is? The answer is B. Now, students, some of us are making the mistake. Let's listen up. We've learned about BUMDAS, BUDMAS, PEMDAS, PEDMAS, whatever the case is, and we think that we have to do multiplication before division or addition before subtraction. But I want to correct that mistake this morning. Let's listen up. If we go to the next slide, we're seeing a little word there between the D and the M, or the M and the D, or the A and S. What's that little word? Or. That simply means that once we are solving from left to right, we don't have to do multiplication before division or addition before subtraction. It's either or. Okay? However they appear as we're solving from left to right, that's the order in which we solve it. If we went back to our question, some of us would have actually not divided by 7. went ahead to multiply by 6 and then come back to divide by 7. That would be a major mistake. So again, multiplication is not more important than division, and addition is not more important than subtraction. Take the time to understand that once we are solving left to right, whatever comes first between those two connected pairs, that's what we'll do. All right? So that's another pitfall to avoid. Next slide. What is the length of the shoe? Is it 12 inches, 6 inches, 7 inches, 6 inches, or 5 inches long? Okay. Let's see all those who are saying 12 inches. All right, I see at least one hand. 7 inches. I see a few hands. Okay. 6 inches. Majority of us are saying 6. And D, 5 inches. All right, we have a lone hand there. More power to you for being confident enough to raise your hand. Now, students, what's happening here with the ruler? Is it beginning at 0? It's broken, okay? What we'll call a broken ruler. And we seem to be starting at 5. Now, one thing we could do is take away or find the difference between where our object starts and where it ends. So what's the difference between 12 and 6? What's the difference between 12 and 6? Okay, so right away we can see, next slide, that our answer would be 6 inches. But here's the pitfall I want you to avoid. Listen up, next slide. Oh, go back for me, sorry, yes. Because it doesn't begin at 0, doesn't mean we can't answer the question. There are times when we're seeing that coming through, and I want you to avoid that mistake. A ruler does not have to begin at 0 for us to find an accurate measurement. Okay? So we can simply follow this tip. Find the difference between the starting and the ending point of the object that is being measured, and then we can determine the length. That's 1. 2, next slide. You maybe have a broken ruler that you're working with when you get into the exam. Mommy didn't have a chance or daddy didn't have a chance to purchase a brand new ruler. That doesn't mean that you cannot draw a line of a specific length that we're asking you to draw, or to construct your shapes, or to answer any question. Don't leave it blank. One thing you can remember, even though your ruler is not beginning at the 0 mark, the distance between those 2 major lines on any ruler, starting at 0, 5, 7, wherever, is always going to be 1 unit. So as we can see here, this is a centimeter ruler. It's not beginning at 0, but the distance between 5 to 6 is exactly 1 centimeter. So once you recognize that, you can now draw your line, construct your shape, and still have an accurate response. Are you with me? So we may not be fortunate to step into the exam room with a brand new ruler, starting at the 0 mark. But regardless of where it begins, keep in mind that that distance between those 2 major marks at any point is equal to 1 unit. Are you with me? All right. And our final one, I'm not sure if you can see that very clearly, but let's see. That should have read, how many students have a computer in their bedroom? Okay. Take a second. All right. Is it 13, 14, 15, or 16? All right. So always take the time to understand your axes. Our y-axis here is showing us the number of students being represented, and the x-axis is showing us the location of the computers, okay? So take the time to understand that first. But I want you to look again at that y-axis. Read the values that are represented. Every line does not mean one. Every line does not mean one. In this case, we're going from 0 to 4, but that in-between line, what do you think it's going to represent? 2. It represents 2. And so that pattern will continue as you go along the axis. So you do that, you find your bar, you read the measurement, and then you can answer appropriately. There are times when we may have to look at one bar, there are times when we may have to look at all, but take the time to understand what your graph is measuring, look at the scale, and then answer your questions. You can move ahead. All right, so we jump to paper 2. In this paper, one thing is critical. Represent your thinking. Represent your thinking. You can do so by drawing. You can do so by showing your working, or there are times when you may have to write. Now, students, next slide, please. Here's a question that you may need to draw for. Which is greater, 3/4 or 5/8? And you may not be sure how to respond. So you could draw an image that could help you now to make it equivalent, and then you can make the comparison. So that's one way that you can represent your thinking, drawing or showing your working. Next slide, please. You may also have to work it out. I'll read this question for you. Amanda traveled to New York for Christmas. The flight landed at 6:40 p.m. How long did the flight last if she left Antigua at 2:05 p.m.? Have you used this method to calculate elapsed time before? Next slide, or you may know this method. Have you used this one before? Okay, so those who are saying no, that's quite all right. However you know how to represent your thinking through showing your work, you do just that. And the next method, some of us may know this one, the Z method. The point I want to make, students, listen up, it doesn't matter how you represent it once it is done so accurately. Show all your working. Is that clear? So there are times when you have to work it out. Use the method that works for you. Use the method that works for you. Mrs. Hurst is not looking for the first method, the second one, or this final one. However, you can show me what you're thinking by doing your working. That's what is expected. Next slide. There are times when we have to write. State one similarity and one difference between the properties of the shapes marked 3 and 5. And on this slide, I have an example of what that could look like. Can you read that for me, please? Both shapes. All right. That was a little jumbled, but in essence, you're saying to me one thing that's similar, one thing they have in common. They both have 4 sides, or they're both quadrilaterals, and that's a key focus area coming this year, so take note. Secondly, we didn't just ask you to tell us what's similar or common about them. What is also different? Here, we spoke about the fact that one has right angles, and we can't just leave our sentence there. I know Dr. Collins would have shared before, if you're doing that comparative writing, you have to explain not just about one, but also about the other. Very often, we only hear about one shape. So take the time to show the difference between the two. So one has right angles, all right angles, while the other has 2 obtuse and 2 acute angles. That's one way we can represent our thinking by writing. Next slide, please. In section 2 of paper 2, you are allowed to use a calculator. You do not have to, but it is encouraged because you may run out of time with the amount of calculations that you have to do. But I want you to be smart about it, students. Would you use a calculator to find 2 times 4? But what if I asked you to calculate the total of 3.5 dozen oranges at $10? That might need some help from the calculator, okay? Or if I said $5.50 for 3.5 dozen at that rate, you may need to use the calculator to help you. So you have to be wise about when you use it and how you use it. Next slide. Some of us may be wondering, but if I use the calculator, how do I show my work? Here's a sample question from last year's paper. We're seeing that 1 box of Capri Sun costs $17.15. 1 tin of the Peroline is $12.68. The Cornados is 1 pack for $3.50. And 3 oranges are being sold for $10. Now, Darren bought 3 boxes of Capri Sun, 2 tins of Peroline, 5 packs of Cornados, and 1.5 dozen oranges. Calculate his total bill. Now, can you imagine how much time you would spend to sit adding all of that with paper pencil only? It could take some time. Not saying that you would be wrong, but this is where we would be able to use the calculator. So I want to show you what that working could look like. Next slide. Click again for me. So we can simply write the word Capri Sun, and just what we punch into our calculator is just what we put on our paper. 1715 times 3 equal, and we write the total. Next, we have the 2 tins, so it's 1268 by 2, and we write our total. Then we have the Cornados, $3.50 times 5, same thing. And for the oranges, we have to be smart. It asks us to do a 1.5 dozen. How many oranges would that be in total? I already heard an answer there, 18. But is it that each orange costs $10? No, it's 3 for $10. So we could just simply divide that number by 3, giving us that total of 6, and then we would have our multiplication, giving us our grand total of $154.31. So this is an example of how we can represent our working while using the calculator. Finally, go ahead for me, please. Just click all the way through. The exam is going to be covering these 5 areas: number concepts, computation, measurement, geometry, and statistics. Pay keen attention to the topics your teachers have shared with you, the practice that you've been doing, so that you can be fully prepared. Next slide, please. Students, it will be shared with you. You don't have to write it all down. Next slide, please. The SBA topic that we'll be focused on this year is My Life in... Let's see the hands of those who did this topic for the SBA. So you have an advantage. But for those of us who did not do this topic, listen up. We still need to practice the working that goes along with it so we can be fully prepared for the exam. Next slide. And so I just want to leave these reminders with you, students. Review and practice when? Review and practice when? Okay, have all the resources that you need, your calculators, your erasers, your pens, your pencils, your rulers. Those are very important. Read your questions carefully, follow all the instructions, answer all your questions, do your best work. We can't require anything else of you but your best. And finally, please make use of all of your time. So I want to wish each of you the very best as you prepare for your national assessment, and I'm looking forward to see everyone claiming success in their mathematics this year. Can you promise me that? Can you promise me that? All right, all the best to each of you. Thank you.
Now I know we're all ready to leave now, aren't we? Oh, well, it sounds like you want to stay a little longer because that was so soft. Okay, now, unfortunately, in the interest of time, we can only ask a couple of questions. I have 2 questions here they are about the same. They're asking the same thing. If you are ill, so I believe Mrs. Hurst, come up quickly. If you are ill and need to leave the examination room, but you aren't finished, can you finish it later? And what will happen to someone who is sick? What will happen to someone if they're sick and have to leave during the exam? Okay, well, I'm not sure. So you can address it.
Okay. Thank you very much for those questions. For students who have to leave the exam room due to illness, the supervisor definitely, if the student feels a little better and continue, they'll be given that extra time. However, in the instance where the student is too ill to continue, then the supervisor will inform the Assistant Director of Education and make a note so that we can appropriately make adjustments that we need to, so that the student is not disenfranchised or put in a position where he or she does not get the grade that would have been covered from when that student was feeling well. So parents, students, please rest assured that we do our very best at the measurement and evaluation unit to ensure students are treated very fairly. Thank you for that question.
But you can address it.
All right, I would like to answer a question about the use of the 3B pencil. I did indicate that we're asking for number 2 pencil for students to respond to their multiple choice questions. However, for parents who would have already purchased the 3B pencil for their students, that too is allowed. We just really don't want to put parents in any additional expense, for we know that most of the students would already have the number 2 pencils. Thank you very much.
Okay, the next question is about the SBA. I believe the student is asking when will the scores for the SBA be released. I'm not sure who will answer that question, but I have one question for Mrs. Hurst, so I'm going to invite you to come quickly. And while you come, the question is, can I make drawings on my paper? So in other words, the child would like to know if I have a math question and I'm not too sure, can I scribble on that paper that the markers will see?
Okay, thank you for your question. So that would be paper 2. And as I shared with you before, you have 3 ways to represent your thinking to us. You can draw, you can write, or you can show your working. Any of those is a proper response to any question. Now, there are times when a question is asked and you're not sure how to write or show the working for that, but you're able to draw and show us that you're thinking this way, this is how you could solve it. Students, whichever way works for you, represent your thinking and try your best to do so clearly and as accurately as possible. So you can certainly draw on the paper if that's one way that you can show us just what you're thinking as a solution to any question that you're asked. Thank you.
That has brought us to the end of our questions, unfortunately, but I would like to encourage you to submit your questions to your teachers and they'll be able to contact the relevant persons. Thank you very much for your submissions.
Thank you, Mrs. Joseph. We have time constraints at the moment, so we are going to ask the student from the St. Peter's Primary if he or she would come with the vote of thanks, and then we're going to invite Ms. Mason to come, and we're going to ask that you remain seated, please. Don't get up, the school buses are here, but don't move from your seat. You will be directed out of this sanctuary.
welcome our student from the St. Peter's Primary, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. With all protocols established, it's my honor to represent St. Peter's Academy and give the vote of thanks. First, we must always thank God for bringing us together and for allowing us to gather and learn in His house. A big thank you to the SJPC for hosting us today. I'd like to thank Prime Minister, the Honorable Gaston Brown, Minister of Education, the Honorable Darrell Matthew, and our Director of Education, Mr. Claire Brown. Your encouraging and inspiring words really mean a lot to us. You've motivated us to give our best as we approach this important milestone in our academic lives. To the ministry officials, organizers, and head of departments, thank you so much for today's retreat. You've given us the tools we need to do our very best. Now we know what to expect, how to prepare, and how to succeed in our national assessments. After today, we are ready to show that math exam who's boss, and we'll pass with flying colors. To our teachers, principals, thank you for supporting us in every step of the way. We're almost at the finish line, and you've been here guiding us throughout. We couldn't have done it without you. To the bus drivers, thank you for safely bringing us here and for ensuring we get back to school safely. Finally, thank you to the students that are here today. This retreat was exactly what we needed, and I'm so proud of each of us for showing up and listening. We're ready. By June, we'll all be successful and we'll be passing with flying colors. I'm already excited to see my new classmates in September. Today was so important, and I know that we're all grateful for it. So on the count of 3, let's say thank you together. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Well done. Well done. I'm hoping and praying that everybody received some snippets today that they can take with them, and that you'll be positive, speak positive words into your lives as of today. And good luck and congratulations for the 2025 National Assessment.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can we have a round of applause for our Mistress of Ceremony? At this time, we are going to invite our invited guests to depart at this time. Please note, students, please check under your chairs. Kindly walk with all excess